Japanese anime titled Yumi Mary. The anime is about Yumi Fujiwara, a high school student who has the gift of seeing people's dreams. He can forecast the visions even though they are never precise or tangible by detecting the person's aura. He only ever sees himself experiencing the same nightmare every night. Although this skill is typically a fun trick to pull on his classmates, to his amazement the nightmare continues in the middle of the day even before Yumi has fallen asleep. The unexpected event was caused by a dream demon, a dweller of the world of dreams who wishes to use Yi's body as a vessel to fully enter the real world. However, a different dream demon, Mary Nightmare, who can somehow physically form without a host and is instead attempting to return to her realm, arrives just in time to save Yi. As more dream demons make their way into reality, Yi and Mary must fight back before everyone's nightmares become a reality. I'm sure that at this point you will want to know how everything plays. Fujiwara E is your average teenager who attends Rika High School. On a certain day he has a bad dream where an army of little cats chase him around the premises. While in the dream Yumi tries to evade the cats, but they all catch up to him in a building. Just before the dream comes to an end, one of the cats warns Yumi, stating that their dawn is coming. After Yumi gets this information, he wakes up almost immediately the next morning and wonders who the dawn might be. It turns out that E has been having the same dream for a while now. Next, Yumi heads to school with Tachibana Isana, his childhood friend. They both live together and as such attend the same high school. On the way to school, Yumi and Tachibana meet up with Takateru and Saki at a train station. It turns out that they all attend the same high school and head off to school elsewhere. A strange teenage girl named Yumi Mary sits in front of a store in the city. She looks tired and changes her position because the owner of the store has arrived. Back at Raya High, Yumi converses with his classmates, which include Saki, Toibana and some others there. He uses his unique skills to predict the outcome of their dreams, and Takateru is left fascinated by it. Seconds later, Yumi leaves the classroom and heads to the restroom. While in the restroom he washes his hands and looks at himself in the mirror. After that he uses his unique abilities to predict his next dream, and he finds out that he will have the same nightmare again. After a few seconds, Messi Jima, a teacher at the school, heads into the restroom and informs Yumi that lectures are about to start. Meanwhile, Yumi wanders along the streets of the city and smiles when she gets to a specific spot. Moving on, Yumi attends a meeting with the school council's president Hosino, with Saki, Takateru and some others present. After a while the meeting comes to an end and he heads out of the school. On his way home, Mary falls from a tree and lands on YG, setting them in an awkward position. It turns out that Mary was sleeping on the tree branch and fell off when the branch broke. After the fall, Mary gets up and engages in a brief conversation with Yumi. Their conversation quickly comes to an end as Mary wanders off looking for her hat. Later that day, Yumi finds Mary's hat but sees a cat just beside it. The cat looks similar to the ones he saw in his previous dream. In split seconds he finds himself in a daydream. While in the daydream, a being named John Doe appears behind E and introduces himself as the chaser. Besides John Doe are lots of different cats surrounding E, who looks confused at the time. Next, John Doe reveals his intention, which is to take Yi's body and leave the dream and enter the real world. After John Doe reveals his intentions, E looks scared and runs off in the process. As a result, John Doe sends the cats after E and all the cats hunt E, following John Doe's wishes. Minutes later, E makes it to a place and hides there, but John Doe finds him. After John Doe finds E, he warns E to give up, adding that Yi's body is his. After John Doe makes this statement, something shocking happens that takes John Doe's attention. Following that, Mary arrives at the daydream and can find her missing hat. Her presence shocks both Yumi and John Doe as they both wonder how she got there. The nightmare, John Doe is pissed because he created that reality for E and did not expect someone else to gain access to it. Seconds later, John Doe assumes that Mary can exist in the human world because she possesses a human body, but she opposes John Doe's statements, stating that she did not possess anyone, and then adds that she just wants to go back to the dream world. Following that, they both get into a fight as John Doe states that he is looking for a way out of the dream world. During the battle between John Doe and Mary, both parties launch fierce attacks against themselves. While he watches them from a distance, Mary easily dodges all of John Doe's attacks, using her speed to her advantage. As a result, Mary lands a nasty attack on John Doe, causing his facial Mask to break into two parts. After that their battle comes to an end. After Mary takes victory over John Doe, she tells him to take her back to the dream world, but John Doe walks away with his cats and fades into thin air. Afterward the daydream fades and Mary meets up with Yumi and faints in his arms with tears dropping down her eyes. Hours before midnight Mary opens her eyes and finds herself in Yumi's house. After she wakes up, Tachibana meets her and explains that Yumi brought her home when she blacked out earlier. Minutes later Mary gets hungry and Tachibana tells her that dinner is almost ready. Meanwhile Yumi reminisces on the daydream he had earlier that day. After that he heads to the shower to take a quick bath but finds Tachibana and Mary there already. As a result he quickly assumes that Mary is fine and then heads off. During dinner Tachibana nags about the fact that he walks into the bathroom unannounced. Her dad then tells her not to get upset because she has showered with E. When they were children in the past. At the dining table they all sit and enjoy their meal and Mary states that it is her first dinner experience elsewhere. A strange girl retires to her room and covers the windows with her curtains. Following that she engages in a strange conversation with someone in her mind and the person replies after dinner with Mary. Yumi stands on the pavement with Mary and offers her a soda. There he reveals that he could not leave Mary lying on the road, so her decided to take her home. After that Mary reveals that John Doe is a nightmare and that he comes from the dream world, adding that she shares the same origin as John Doe. She also explains that some nightmares want to come to the real world and then adds that all nightmares are not the same. Meanwhile the strange girl from before reminisces on the time she accepted a nightmare into her body. The nightmare's name is Sirius, and she vowed to follow the girl's dreams. After that their pact was made and they became bonded in one body. Back at Yumi's home Yumi questions Mary if she took over a human body, but she replies stating that she did not. She then adds that she does not know how she got to the human world and was unaware of when she got there. Following that she explains that she has seen a nightmare taking over a human's body and as a result she hunts other nightmares so she can use their dreams to return to the dream world. Next Mary expresses her frustration because she now exists in the human world and intends to go back to hers as she sheds tears in the process. Yumi sees this and consoles Mary while Tachibana interrupts them as she walks in offering some donuts. After Mary gets a donut from Tachibana she eats it and finds out that it tastes delicious. Because of that she requests more donuts and Tachibana hands them to Mary. In the process Tachibana states that Mary can stay in the house if she has nowhere else to go. Just before Yumi and the others go to bed, Yumi stands in front of a reflective window and uses his skills to predict the outcome of his dream. There he finds out that John Doe will not appear again and looks worried because he will not be able to help Mary at the time. Later that night Mary gets up from bed and dresses up. After dressing up she leaves Tachibana's room and heads out of the house. Before leaving the house she gets interrupted by Tachibana's dad who questions her reasons for leaving. After the brief interrogation session with Tachibana's dad Mary leaves the house. The following day Tachin and Yumi find out that Mary left the house at night. This information puts E in a mood as he looks to be upset. Back in school Mesama, a teacher, introduces a new transfer student named Kawanami Chizuru. Her presence leaves the entire classroom in awe and Tachibana tries to start a conversation with her. When she takes her seat Kawanami does not say a word to Tachibana and some students attribute her to be shy. Elsewhere Mary wanders along the streets of the city and gets hungry. When she arrives at a spot after classes Yumi bumps into Kawanami and gets a weird feeling when in Y with her. Later that day the strange girl from earlier named Yumi heads home from school. On her way she gets into a daydream where she meets Sirius, her nightmare. The atmosphere in the daydream feels cold and Sirius explains that she is not the one responsible for the daydream. Minutes later Yumi gets restrained by a chain and Sirius gets captured by another nightmare who does not reveal itself. Next the daydream comes to an end when Siro is destroyed by the nightmare, leaving Yumi screaming as a result of her loss. That evening Yumi lies on his bed and thinks about Mary, hoping to save her because she did the same for him in the past. Meanwhile Mary walks on the streets that evening thinking about her next objectives. The following day Yumui sits on his bed and tries to analyze the disparities between the real world and the dream world. There he uses the knowledge that he has gained in the past to try and understand the motives behind the nightmares. Later that morning a little girl named Manato arrives at a spot and sees Mary sitting on a tall structure. Mary sits there alone and Starves because she has not had any meal in a while. Elsewhere, Kawanami sits alone and in her apartment drinking soda, and her light bulb goes out. After her light bulb goes out, scales fall off her eyes and it looks as if she is possessed by a nightmare. After the change in her eyes, she reverts to her real self and begins to soliloquize. Later that day, Manato sits with Mary at a park and eats a snack just beside Mary. While eating the snack, Mary's lust for food intensifies and the little girl offers Mary a piece of her snack to eat. While eating the snack, Mary finds out that the snack tastes good and it is her first time having such. Moving on, Manato asks Mary why she was sitting all by herself in the tall structure earlier. Mary then answers, stating that she was thinking about leaving town, adding that she is alone and has no regrets. Following that, Manato also states that she is alone and has no friends. Some meters away from where they are seated, some children play with themselves, and Manato states that she cannot play with them because she is too clumsy. She also adds that Akima, an unknown person, told her that no one would want to be her friend. This statement drives Mary to find out who Akima is, and Manato states that she is her only friend. Moving on, E arrives at a park looking for Mary and he gets knocked off by a fast-moving object heading for his face. Seconds later, Manato meets E, apologizing for hitting the object at E, and then continues her game. Almas immediately E quickly realizes the game that Manato is playing and then reminisces on the time he played the game in the past. Along the line, Yumi realizes that Mato's playmate is Mary because he recognized her voice, and then Mary falls on him once more. After Mary gets up, E engages in a conversation with Mary concerning the fact that she left his house without saying anything. Their conversation goes on for a while and Manato interrupts them, asking if they are friends. At this point, Mary quickly denies the fact, but he thinks otherwise. Afterward, he drops some words of advice from Manato concerning her social condition. Yumi encourages her to play with other kids, including her friend Akima, but Manato states that she only meets Akima at night. After that, he suggests that they all play a game together, and the game begins shortly. After a while of consistent gameplay, Manato comes out as the winner in all rounds of the games, leaving E and Mary both tired. After the game, E tries to use his skills to predict Mato's dreams, but he finds something shocking instead. It turns out that Manato hosts a nightmare and Mary notices this too. Next, they all enter a daydream where Manato meets a nightmare named Akima. After Manato meets with Akima, Akima intends to take control of Mat's body and stresses the fact that Manato should not keep any friends. While at it, Mary appears and Akima discovers that Manato broke her promise and made friends with someone else. This discovery makes Akima get upset and she claims authority over Manato's body, stating that Manato's body is hers. As a result, Akima tries to rag Manato to herself, but she gets opposed by Mary, who steps in and blocks her. After that, Yumi arrives at the scene and quickly realizes what Manato meant when she said that she only sees Akima at night. However, Akima rage drives her to launch large objects at Mary and E to kill them, but Mary and Yumi managed to survive the attack. Next, Yumi tells Manato that Akima is not a friend, as adding that friends will not try to take advantage of themselves. Furthermore, in response to Akima initial attacks, Mary gets up and charges at Akima with the intent to attack and defeat Akima. In the process, Akima launches several objects at Mary, but Mary succeeds in dodging them all. As a result, Mary quickly gets to Akima, grabs her by her cheeks, and then lands an attack on her, causing a door to open. As the door opens, Akima flies towards the door as a result of Mary's attack, and then Mary begs Akima to take her to the dream world. After that, Akima declines Mary's offer and the door shuts behind her. Following that, the daydream fades and Manato returns to the park. In the end,